Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Redneckologist show. I'm Spur.
And I'm Coot.
And we're here to talk about all things redneck. We've got a great monthly series lined up for you guys where we're going to be putting out a show every month about all things redneck. We're going to be talking about things like Southern cooking.
How to throw a redneck party.
And a segment that we initially wanted to call Function Over Fashion, but after putting our heads together on it, we're going to call it Redneck Ingenuity.
That's right, function over fashion. That's kind of hard for me to say.
Yeah, Redneck Ingenuity kind of rolls off the tongue. But Redneck Ingenuity is going to be a segment where we're going to talk about how to make the most bang out of your buck. So not everybody has a big fat bank account and is able to go out and buy brand new stuff like bass boat and all this. So we're going to talk about do-it-yourself projects or fixer-uppers, like I said. You can go get a functional piece of equipment or
build it yourself.
And then we're going to be talking about fire pits, boats.
How to have the maximum fun with the minimum money.
That's right. And as long as it works, we're rednecks, right? We don't care.
No, we don't care what it looks like as long as it works.
That's right. You know, and that brings me to another point, redneck. Before we get too deep into this program, I want to discuss the meaning of the term redneck.
Yeah, I've often wondered about that myself. I've got my own ideas, but I've heard several different theories on it.
So what I would like to do is give you the Merriam-Webster definition. Now, I like Merriam-Webster as a dictionary source.
That's her and her husband?
Well, no, not actually, but I like Merriam-Webster. It's a good source, and some people like different dictionary sources, but I tend to lean toward this one. But let me just read the dictionary definition of a redneck.
I didn't know you could read.
Oh yeah, I can read, and we're going to get to that point here shortly. So the Merriam-Webster definition of a redneck is a white person. Okay, that makes sense right off the bat, because if you're going to sunburn, it shows up better.
I see your gist.
Right. A white person who lives in a small town or in the country, right?
Okay,
we're rolling right along, especially in the southern U.S. Now, this is the first point of that definition that I would like to call hogwash on, because I have met rednecks from Vermont and I have met rednecks in Maine.
What you're trying to say is their neck doesn't absolutely have to be red, or?
No, their neck's red enough. It's the attitudes that they have.
Okay.
All right. And we're going to get to that at the end of this definition, but I'm just going to break this thing down for you. So I have met rednecks. I lived in Montana for a little bit.
Okay.
There's lots of rednecks in Montana.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's not near about southern either.
No. It's rural, right?
Okay.
And so, I've met rednecks from all over the United States. So this is my first point of contention with this definition, is especially in the southern United States, and that's just not true. Okay, so the next part is who typically has a working class job.
Okay.
All right, a lot of us do.
They work hard and don't make big bucks.
Right. So I agree with that.
Well, that's the reason I'm a redneck. I've done that all my life.
Why would you need redneck ingenuity if you had a big fat paycheck?
Well, that's true.
Okay.
And that's what one of the points we're going to raise later on is, how to have the most fun with the least amount of money.
That's right, because you got to have money to take your other half out every once in a while and remind them that they're special, because the thing about rednecks is we spend a lot of time hunting and fishing, and so we need that extra cash every once in a while to take our better half out to say, you know what, I do remember I am still married to you.
That's right.
Right. That's right. But we're out doing these things for a reason, and we're putting food on the table. But anyway, let's get to this other part. Okay, so typically has a working class job. Okay. That's a good point. And who is seen by others.
Seen by others.
Seen by others. That doesn't mean they are. It's just they're seen by others as being uneducated
Oh, boy.
and having opinions and attitudes that are offensive.
And as far as common old horse sense, some of them the smartest in the world.
That's true. That is absolutely true. And I know a ton of educated rednecks.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Because I'm gonna use the last part of this definition to tell you why. Because it says and attitudes that are or opinions. I'm sorry, opinions and attitudes that are offensive. It says are, not maybe, but are offensive.
You mean the rednecks have attitudes
Opinions and attitudes
that are offensive?
that are offensive.
Well, I apologize right now then.
Well, and that's my point too. A lot of us will apologize, but the problem comes with what is offensive. How the heck do you define offensive?
That's right, 'cause what offends you may not even bother me.
Now we're going to try to keep this show clean, and we're going to try our best to make this a family-oriented show. But I can understand if we were going to talk about how to skin a deer, and someone who has never skinned a deer before, who has never seen a carcass of a dead animal, may find that offensive. May find that offensive. But I grew up around so many people that would absolutely not find that offensive. But this says are offensive. To who?
Yeah, to who? Because I've seen things that are a lot worse than skinning a deer.
Absolutely. But, I mean, and back to my point, if we were going to talk about skinning a deer, and we were getting very graphic, the methodology that we use, and I said, and I asked a question of you, something like, Coot, what do you think is the best way to get those inner loins out of there? Or, what is the method you found to get those back straps off? And you start talking about cutting through meaty flesh with a sharp knife. I can understand where someone who has never been exposed to that before may find that offensive.
Yeah, especially younger kids.
Right. But to say are offensive.
But like I said, you and I both have grown up on watching either deers being skinned or
We had our hands in on it.
We had hog killings, out on the farm when I was growing up, and that's some of the best memories because all that took place right before Christmas, and you always had to let the weather cool off before you killed the hogs, and we didn't carry the hogs into a slaughterhouse then. We did it all ourselves, and it's some of the best memories because we always had plenty to eat around Christmas time.
That's right. And my thing is, though, unless you're, and I have absolutely nothing against anyone having an opinion or something, but because it's a personal thing, right? I have a personal opinion about the way I view the world, right? So we have large operations now where animals are brought in and they are slaughtered, they are processed, they are skinned, their meat is cut up, and then they're packaged. Even in your local grocery store, a lot of the meats that you buy out of that grocery store don't come in a styrofoam carrying thing with a clear plastic thing on it with a sticker that says so much per pound, and these are pork chops. It's actually brought into that local grocery store as a piece of pork that butcher working back there has to work into those packages. All we're doing is cutting all these middlemen out of the process, and we're processing our meat all the way from animal to table.
That's how you save money, folks. I mean, if you can learn to do these things, and these are the type of things we're going to talk about, how to have a good time, how to do things yourself, and save that money.
And if some people find what we're talking about offensive, they can just not listen to our show.
I hope nobody's out there like that, but I know they are.
But just know that if you are out there and you're listening to our show and you think you're finding something offensive, we're sorry. I mean, I truly am. I truly am sorry.
Yeah, we don't mean to offend anybody.
But we're just going to talk about Southern ways and redneck ways. We call it redneck. The reason, here's my definition of a redneck: somebody that has to work outside a lot and the sun's beating down on them, because we have people in the United States of America that have to do jobs all the way from the fields to the table, and you've got everybody in between. And there's nothing wrong with somebody, that has to work out in the weather, because somebody has to do it.
Yeah, these people that climb the telephone poles and hook up our electricity and keep things running, they're out in the sun. And that sun's going to make your neck red now if you work out in it. You don't have to be drawing no, minimum wage or anything like that to be considered a redneck. But if you have the right type job, you're going to be a redneck. But now that doesn't necessarily mean, it's like Spur said a while ago, there's a lot of people that have top dollar jobs or, office work and all, and they've got that redneck attitude.
I call it redneck tendencies.
There you go.
Yeah, they like to go out on the weekends and hunt and fish. I guarantee you set in a boat, bass fishing. I don't care if your boat costs $1,000 or $90,000.
And you can make $350 a year, 1,000 that is, and still be out in that sun on weekends enjoying your life, and you can have a redneck.
And you can be catching fish from lake to table, providing meat for your family.
I guess what we're saying is redneck is like a double meaning. Yeah, right. It's your attitudes and your opinions, and then also if you have those attitudes and opinions, and you work out in the sun, you're gonna have a redneck.
You are, and if you provide for your family by what we some people like to call, it's an honest living, or it's an honest thing. It is honest.
Yeah, and a lot of people refer to certain jobs as being honorable, and there's a heap of jobs that are honorable, and you can still only be making $10-12 an hour, but it's honorable work.
Well, and like you said a while ago, people, it spurred my thought. It piqued my interest there when you were talking about guys climbing telephone pole or the power poles,
right,
to keep us in power. I tell you what, that's one thing. When we have bad weather and it goes out, that's the one thing that gets a lot of people right there, is when the power goes out.
Oh, we got to have that power.
Oh, it's dark in your freezer now. And see, we have all this meat in the freezer. We have all that fish we caught in the freezer. But even if you didn't go hunt and catch it yourself, you bought it at the store, it's sitting in your freezer. And that freezer now is getting warmer and warmer by the minute, and all that can go bad.
And I guess we could maybe each show we can maybe salute certain people, and I would really have to send a salute out to those power line workers, no matter what company they work for, because anymore we have a lot of tornadoes and we have a lot of ice storms that tears these wires down, and I've seen people or these workers from one state, like if Louisiana gets hit heavy, Arkansas and Texas and Mississippi, they just send all those trucks and workers down there and to get all that stuff straightened back out, and you just have to really send those people a salute.
Absolutely, and that's infrastructure. I mean, if we didn't have it, there's a lot of people that benefit. Everybody benefits off that infrastructure, from water to power, unless you live off grid. Now, there's some people that they're rare, and I'd have to say they're redneck. Oh my goodness, now that's another point. What is the scale? On a scale of 1 to 10 or 1 to 100, who's the most redneck? Those people that go out and they live and they build their own little shack in the woods, and they don't live off the power grid, and they don't rely on the water companies and all that. They're 100% redneck.
Amen.
But and we're not advocating that everybody goes off grid. But
Or quit their job.
right. But what we're saying is there's a level of redneck in a lot of us. There is a level of redneck in us all. And we're here to discuss the things that are redneck on this show.
And we're not going to try to tell you how to get by for free, because if you just think about it a little bit, if you do anything in this life, it's going to cost you something as far as money.
It will. And so let's get off that subject. I think we've pretty much set the premise of what we consider to be a redneck, and I think there's a little redneck in a whole bunch of us out there. And if what we're saying is intriguing you, then make sure you subscribe to this show, because we're going to be bringing you some golden nuggets. But let's talk about a little bit about the cooking segment, Southern cooking we're going to do.
Okay.
And I think the first installment we're probably going to do is about fish fries.
Fish fries, that sounds good.
Yeah. And I'll tell you this, I'm a lucky man, because I am married to a wonderful woman that tolerates my redneck tendencies. And not only does she tolerate them, but do you know what happened today, Coot?
What's that?
She actually instigated the crawfish boil that we're going to have.
I seen that.
Yeah, I didn't have to do it. She has so much confidence in.
Now, brother, that comes from Louisiana more, than anything, but there's nothing like a good crawfish boil if you can get a bunch of folks interested in coming to eat with you.
Oh, and we've got a lot of people, and it's technology, and we're all online these days, even us rednecks. But she posted an event online on a social media network, and we've had a lot of people accept already.
Well, that's good.
That's good. And we're going to have plenty of crawfish and all that, but that's neither here nor there. But we'll talk about crawfish boils, and we'll talk about, but we want to talk about smoking meats.
Oh, yeah.
And not just about how to fry fish, but, we're going to talk about the seasonings that we use. And just know that when we talk about these things, we don't think we're superior. We don't think we're absolutely right. You may have a better way, and we would love to hear your opinions on that stuff.
Now, on that smoking meat, I'm going to give you a little heads up. I've got a little old cheating box. It's a little old smoker. I'm not going to mention any brand names, but that little dude is, you can put ribs in there, pork ribs or deer meat or brisket, whatever you want to smoke. And it's just smoking. They say if you're not looking, you're not cooking. But this little dude, you don't even have to look.
I want to clarify that he's talking about an electric smoker. It's plug-in.
Oh, yeah.
And it uses those little
biscuits,
yeah, to smoke. Oh man, but it tastes good.
Yeah, it's good, just to cook hamburgers and wieners and things on the fire. And we'll get into that a little later on about our fire pit and our cooking methods on it. But
and expanded metal cooking grate on
top.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Over that old oak wood.
Yeah, and we're going to have, we're also, I think our first show after this welcome show, I think it's going to be called Beer and Fire.
Beer and Fire, that goes good together.
Oh, man, I think they were made for each other. But we're going to be talking about our favorite beers and how we like to drink them. And we're also going to be talking about our fire pit that we kind of inherited when I bought this property out.
Well, you bought it when you bought the property.
I did. It was a piece of what some people may call junk. We found a gem.
We turned it into a gym.
We did, and we're gonna tell you what that was all about on the first show we do called Beer and Fire.
And people, this is something that you 9 to 5ers or 8 to 4s or 7 to whatever in the morning, Monday through Friday. When you get home on Friday night, build you a fire and crack you a beer.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what time of the year it is, beer and fire. Oh, okay, we'll save that for that show. But we also may do shows where we talk about country music.
Oh yeah, we got to do some country music. Then we're gonna have a segment on gardening later on.
Oh yeah, yeah, I forgot about that one. Yeah, that's going to be a good one. Now, when we talk about gardening, we're also going to be talking about redneck ingenuity as well.
Yes.
Because there's some pieces that Coot's good at welding.
Well, I've got a little old cracker box, what they call a cracker box welder. It's not one of them fangly wire welders, but I can burn them sticks, them what they call them welding rods, and I can weld two pieces of metal together.
And they stay together. But so we'll get into that in the different shows. But this is a welcome show, and if you like what you're hearing right now, we'd love to have you subscribe and follow us, and we'll try to come out. Just so y'all know, this is totally, we're not getting paid for this. We're doing this for fun, and I looked around, and there wasn't a lot of shows that represented what we were wanting to talk about, discuss, so we decided to create our own.
And it's just us talking, and, like Spur said, some of you folks out there may have a better idea or a better opinion on what we're talking about. If you do, that's great and wonderful, but we think these little old things that we do out here to make ourselves happy, for the least amount of money, we go for it.
That's right. And if there's one thing I know about rednecks that ties us all together is the sharing of our redneck ingenuity knowledge.
Yeah, that information.
That's right. So if we come out and explain something and say, like I said before, we're not saying this is the only way, this is the way we did it. And if you can come up and say, you know what, that's real nice and all, but we did it this way.
Yeah, I've been told there's 3 ways of doing anything. There's a right way and a wrong way, and then the way I do it. But if it works, it works.
If it works, well, and I think there's a right way, a righter way, a way that's right maybe for you and not for me, or my way's right for me and not for you. But we may learn something from each other.
But one thing we're going to try to stay toward is the cheaper way.
Absolutely. The fixer-upper way. All right, I think we've covered enough here that if people are interested, they're going to be interested, and if they're not, they're not. And I hope no one got offended by anything we said today. And if you did, sorry, we're rednecks. Just chalk it up to that and stick with that Merriam-Webster definition where our opinions and attitudes must be offensive.
This is Coot.
And this is Spur, and we're signing off. If you like us, make sure you subscribe.